All right. At least we're having fun here. All right. Are we still having fun? Hopefully we're having fun. It took me all of 3 minutes to get my acting gear, get everything going together. I have you guys in the chat over here. If you have something to say, please say it. Don't worry about anything being on the screen. If you want to, if you're still concerned about that, make sure to put an exclamation point in front of that. All right, so get connected to your Boost container if you haven't done that yet. If you don't know how to do it, pause right now, go back and watch the early days about how to do that. Today we're going to be talking about tab completion, how to source other code inside of code, which is really important today in the day of cloud native, where everything is sourced in order to get tab completion, which is why I put them together in the same day. And CD path, which is this mysterious, not very well known thing about Bash that allows you to CD into directories without them being like right there. And it's kind of behavior you're probably used to seeing people with Fish or Z Shell use. But you can do it. You can do it with Bash. You just have to know how to set it up, and you have to do it carefully. So we're going to do those things today. We have a lot to cover. We're not going to cover the regular path, but I think it's this whole day tomorrow. That's a big deal, handling the executable path where everything runs. So we'll do that in one day by itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and get set up here. Start up our Docker container. So Docker, was it start-AI? That means attach and interactive. And then we're going to attach to what? What are we going to attach to? We'll attach to Boost. I named mine Boost. All right. So there we go. Now we got to go back into my user. SU space dash y dash. Y dash, people. Y dash. A little bit of a quiz. Why did I put dash there? Nobody wants to take me on that one. Because we want to have an interactive experience, right? We want an interactive shell, not just... If we don't do that, it'll do weird things. Like, in fact, I don't think it will even pull into Bash RC. Let's try it. Because we have a container. Who cares, right? No, it did it. Okay. But okay, so here's one. So it did not, it's kept us in slash instead of making us in the home directory. It seems like it ran the other Bash RC stuff though. So whatever. But you always want to use the dash when you're joining. Okay. So now what? Well, we got ourselves in here and we've been editing on, this series, this mini series within Boost is all about configuration, getting yourself ready on your terminal. And we're going through it kind of slowly, but oh well. so here we did functions yesterday. We did prompts a couple of days back. Go watch those videos. I'm not gonna watch them now. We did aliases. I messed with my aliases all day today. And today we're gonna do completion. We're gonna do tab completion. Now, as you know, tab completion is already a thing. Oh wow, Diabolic rated with 36 people. I'm going to take a moment out to say hi to our friends from Diabolic, but we are in the middle of a video. So welcome Raiders. Please, have fun. We're talking about, just to recap, we're talking about tab completion. We're talking about CD path, and we're talking about sourcing code and why you would want to do that. Okay. So the first one I want to talk about is actually described completely in the man page. You're like, wait, are you telling me to go read the man page? Yes, that's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you RT fancy man page. Okay, RTFM. It's like something we've been saying since the dawn of time in the Unix world. So read the fancy manual, all right? And now because you've got colors, you can like see all these really great colors here. Because why? Because we did our little colorization. Go back and watch a couple days back. All right, so if you want to read all there is to know, literally the Bible on programmable completion in Bash, type / and search for programmable completion. Boom. See, programmable completion component. Keep hitting go. I'm hitting N to go to the next one. N. Ooh, there's a good one. All right, so we're gonna come back to this. We're gonna come back to this thing right here. This complete thing. This complete thing is your friend. I promise. Tab completion is one of these mysteries that we just take for granted when we use the shell all the time. Everybody loves it and appreciates it, and we generally just want it to work. We don't want to spend time thinking about it. I get it, and that's why we go for things like Oh My Z Shell or Fish, which has it built in and stuff. But you actually, once you understand how easy it is to use, and program and put it into your code. And we might have time to do that today. I don't know. We'll see. I might give you a few little lines in your bash code to make your own code do its own shell completion. Yeah. And it carries it inside of the script. It's one of the coolest things about the way bash does completion. And I think Z shell does it as well, but I'm not familiar. So, okay. So here, this whole entire section is on completion. All right. And you can set up your own rules about it and everything, but probably the easiest one is complete-c, and spoiler alert, I'm going to give you that one later. So what is tab completion in the first place? I should probably put that in my boost thing. So what the what the freak is tab completion? So completion is very simply when you hit tab. It's like all the rage now, by the way, because of VS Code and IntelliSense. So tab completion is when oh crap, because I swore you unfollowed me. I'm so sorry. All right, so tab completion is when you do this. Okay, so I want to go see where I am right now. I'm in this like path, right? Does it look like there's anything like scripts in this directory? No, right? So I want to tab into something that I know. So I'm going to cd space. I'm like, well, what can I possibly cd into? I don't know. I see all the stuff there. So I'm going to hit tab, which is this crazy little markup here. See that? And cd. Okay, so cd what? Tab. I had to hit it 2 times because if you just hit it once, it's like, I don't know. So if you hit it twice, if you hit, okay, wait, let me do it again. So if you do one word, so you do S, it's like, okay, I'm going to give you all the stuff that you could possibly want that ends with S. And you hit S, tab, and it's like, here's all the stuff that completes the S that I know of. Let me ask you a question. How many of those things are in the current directory? None. None of them are. None of those things are in the current directory. How on earth, Mr. Rob, are you able to cd into things that are not even in the current directory? cd path. All right, and we're going to get there today too. So just showing you what tab is, right? So as soon as I pushed S and then I push tab again, SC tab, and it gets me, if I provide enough to disambiguate, I guess is the word, the match, then it will give you the whole thing, and then you just do tab. I see people all the time, particularly beginners. I see beginners that are like, blah, 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 they're tapping out an entire like 12-word, file name that somebody, didn't pick a good name for. I'm like, oh my God, can you just not do that? Just stop. Just tab. Particularly if you're going to be doing like competitive hacking and stuff like that. Tab is your best friend. I mean, it is like your best friend. People always ask me as soon as I say this, well, why aren't you using tab completion when you had it in VI? Huh? And I'm like, oh, you got me on that probably. Mostly because I can find stuff using my text-based browser in less than a second that I get full information for instead of tab completion. So I am not a big fan of code completion, so that's why. But you can be. It's not, you're not me. You can do whatever you want. So let's say I want to go into my scripts directory. Oh, there is no scripts directory. So we'll go into dot, and if I hit tab again, it's like, well, this gives me all the other stuff that's inside of here. So I go this, and I go cd into scripts. Okay, where else do we see? So that took me quite a ways away, right? How do you go back? Right, dash takes me back. Now, but tab completion pops up all over the place. I mean, really, it really does. So, for example, Kubernetes. You guys know Docker and Kubernetes, right? You should by now. So Docker, tab. There's all of the different commands you can do with Docker. And that's very nice because if I had to look up all the commands, I might do man docker. I read through it all, or it says, oh, you want to do Docker help. Oh, I have to read. I really just want to know what I can possibly type here. So you can type Docker tab. And if you've done it right, you can do D tab, and it will do the right thing. Mine doesn't because I broke it. Damn. I've got to fix mine. Maybe I'll fix it tonight. Okay, so Docker's got completion set up for it, and my D alias for it does not. It might be because it's an alias, actually. Maybe it's just because I haven't done the extra stuff for that. So that's a lot to cover tonight. We're gonna finish. We have 30 minutes left or so to cover all that. And again, the purpose of the boost is to help you see what you may not have heard or maybe not considered and what you need to know. It's not so much to show you everything. It's more about setting you on the right path and then saying, okay, now I'll go study for another hour or two and figure it out and play with it, right? So I'm not here to show you everything. Okay, I have to keep saying that every week. Let's get on to our thing here. So What I was trying to show you though is that completions and everything. It's all over. In fact, you'd be surprised. There you can do completion. Anybody ever use Google and done completion on um, navigate results? Oh, I didn't know about that. Yeah, sometimes you can do. Can you do 3? I don't think you can do. You must be on Z Show or something, Deuterino. I'm not sure of that. You got me curious though. Deuterino says that if you do 3, you can actually do no 3. 3 doesn't work for me. Yeah, it must be Z Show. Yeah, that's a Z Show thing that I don't particularly care for. Again, I'm not against Z Show. I seriously consider it for a day. I even use it for a full day, but it's not the default. So why would I change? If it is the default, go ahead and use it on Mac or whatever. Not a problem. But the stuff I'm going to talk to you about completion today does not relate to Z Show. So it's a Bash thing. You're going to have to go make your own video about Z Show. Okay. And again, I'm not slamming on Z Shell people. I just don't like it. Don't need it. And that's all. All right. So you know what tab completion is. Let's actually start by first of all, do you guys have tab completion enabled? Everybody should have tab completion enabled by default. On Bash, that should be already on. All right. It is one of the things, however, that I believe it was in the original profile. Let's check. So look at that. You can just tab, and it'll say there's 603 different possible commands. These are all the possible commands I can. Well, that's pretty cool. I've never seen that before. I have never had that work. Usually, I'm on a system where there's so many things installed, but because this container is so sparse, it actually gave me the option. It's like there are 603 possible commands you could execute right now, including these guys, which are actually commands. Isn't that fun? This is actually a command. We talked about that in the shell scripting thing. So these are all the things I can possibly do right now. Display out that. Yes, I want to see them all. Give me all of them. It even put it in more. That's pretty damn cool. You know what? That's great. I like that. I don't think I knew about that before. Like, let's say you're trying to look for the name of a command and you don't want to go into the scripts directory and look around. Maybe you just want to like scroll through the completion. You know, I'm gonna put that in the tips. Yeah. Yeah. Use tab. How about that? I don't know. Use tab to see all possible commands. How about that? To page. Now, if you're just starting out, God, you know, that might be a really great helper for you. You know, I mean, God, I'm going to start doing that myself. Sometimes I forget the name of my commands, you know, that I've written or something else. So it might be a good time to see that. Sometimes you might think, oh, I didn't know there was a command that said that, you know, that kind of thing. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, so if you let's do all the commands to start with L tab. Okay, we got last. Last is the last person who's on the system. We have let, that's a programming syntax from Bash. It's not. We have ln, ooh, that's creating symlinks. We have less, LDD, which is the symbolic linker for compiling stuff. After you compile it, this LZ compare, LZ diff, this like encryption stuff. God, I could just have fun learning by just studying all these things. And by the way, this is one serious way you can write half of the command and complete it with tab like, but yeah, Python. Yeah, you can actually do that too. Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. So you can do py tab, and there's no Python here. Is there any Perl over here? Yes, there's Perl. Is there awk? Yes. We shall not fight about that right now. There's your apt commands, right? So if you want to get all those, and it used to be that they were put together. Oh, here's another one. This is a real, oh my God, I forgot to talk about this. Use get. I don't know what to say about this. I'm just going to put get. Get is a great example, but we haven't done get, so you won't appreciate it. So this is kind of mandatory in the cloud native world. I already told you, so like Docker tab, right? It gives you all the, whoops. I don't have Docker installed. Duh. Docker tab. Okay, there's all those things. Watch Kubernetes tab. My Kubernetes, I just broke it today. I did. You go look at my commits. Oh, story of my life. Kubernetes. I'll have to fix that. No, kube control. Come on, Rob. All right, so here we go. Tab. There's all the commands for Kubernetes. All right. You're welcome. So think about all the other stuff that we could try that with. Oh, Git is really, really great. So like, let's say you're in here, right? Git, you can do Git tab. Like, look at all the commands Git has built in. I actually think Git is probably like the grandfather of the sort of monolith composite command that has some commands that you can tab out of. And I mean, there's so many cool things here. You know, you can do work tree and then type help and go, it gives you all the help for that. Okay, that's cool. Maybe I could do help work tree. How about that? Does help have, this is what I want to show you. Git has completion for specific things. It has very context specific completion. Git help add. Oh, okay. So it gives you all the stuff on add. How about that? All right. So, but this is what I was going to show you. So if you wanted to say, so let's say I wanted to like, I don't know, change into a branch or something, right? So I go git switch, tab, and it gives you there's my branch. Remember from last night? If you do tab, it shows you what branches. If you go into something, so one of the things you do with Git a lot, this is, I did not know this until I did it on accident. So let's say you're messing with files. So go into my scripts directory, status, right? So let's say I had changed some things in here. You can do this. You can do git commit tab, and it will only display the files that have changed. Yeah, it will only display the files that have changed. That's how intelligent its completion is. And I, God knows I love completion. In fact, that reminds me, I'm gonna plug for my command box tab complete, which used to be command tab. I built a whole library in Go for building tab completion into your own programs. Command tab in Go to build own completions. All right, so we'll talk about that later. I don't want to forget. All right, so whoopsie, what am I doing? That's what we're asking ourselves, Rob. All right, so we're back in Docker, and what does that have to do with anything? Okay, so I wanted to cover completion because the next topic, sourcing, is primarily related to completion these days. So, and you know, let me explain that. So all that tab completion stuff, there's really nothing to put in your, we're going to do a little script at the end. Don't worry. There's, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do an easy one. You want to do an easy one? Do we have time? All right. Let me ask you what you think would be easier to understand. I can show you how other programs output code that sets up the completion rules and then put that in your bash RC, or I can show you how to build a simple completion for yourself in a shell script, like a 5-line shell script, and then just use that to say, okay, remember and now this other one here, it's not 5 lines, it's 500 lines, but it's the same thing. I think I'm going to do that one. Is everybody okay with that? So, I mean, you're like, whatever. But I do want to show you this. So that means we're going to be writing a little code right now. So get out your VI, and we're going to write some code. All right. So let's do this. Let's create a simple, actually, no. Use complete -c foo to complete foo. And I'm going to teach you, and I guarantee you there's people in here who've probably written bash completion who did not know about this. I did not know about this until 2019. And I told you I was looking around at it. And then when I found out about it, I immediately wanted to write a bunch of stuff to use it. To build completion into scripts. All right. And this is probably one of the more useful things from this video. So I'm going to focus on this. You're like, well, what does that even mean? Okay. So the first thing we need to do is we need to put it in, we need to add, nothing gets completed until you do that command. And if you wanted, you can do help complete, and this will tell you all the completion stuff that's here. And it will show you what kind of completion you have, your options and all that. You might need to pipe that to more. So this really verbose section is really hard to make sense of it. In fact, I don't know how many hours I've spent poring over this section, even back in the day. to try to set up, the basic completion that you would find out. But there's one option that gets overlooked all the time, and I personally believe it's the most powerful one of all, especially in 2021. And it's called -C command. And what it says is that whatever this command name is, that will be run every time you push tab. So if you push tab twice, and on a particular command, you have to set up so it maps to the name of a command. That's what this is. Okay, but when you push tab, it says it looks through the command completion list. And by the way, if you want to see what those are, you can do. I think it's just complete. Oh my god, I don't have any. That's impossible. There we go. See, so if you just type complete, try this right now. I'm glad I looked. Yeah, I'm so happy we did this as containers. I really am. Okay, so you can say use complete dash just complete to view all completion rules. Okay, so that's going to give you, a lot, unless you're on a container with no completion like I am. I think we have to install completion. I think we might get burned on this. So I don't know if we're going to be able to keep them to the time. We might actually get burned on this because I think you actually have to install some bash completion libraries. I remember doing that from the workspace in the workspace container, but we're going to find out. So, but normally, where is it? So right here, yeah. So this is the kind of thing. And these are all these things. So this means the complete -F means run this function. So that's normally how completion is done with functions these days. If this is done, right? So it says run the long opt function. And some of these functions here are pre-built functions that are designed to help you. Like this will complete all the long options and stuff. And you might want to know all those. But some of the ones that are not well known, and you'll notice these are mine, -C and -C PDF. And let me give you an example of one that I built. Okay, so, and that might be faster than doing it. So I wrote this a long time ago before I was a big fan of test. I'm a much bigger fan of test these days. So what this script does, and this script is a PDF script. Let me give it to you really quick. Give PDF. So that way you can go look at it if you want on your own. What this script does, and I'll show you this one in case we run out of time, rather than try to build one from scratch, is it says, okay, we have one function here, and the only function's job is to list all of the PDFs. Now we talked about find. I'm not going to unpack that for you, but what this does, if I run it like this, is it lists all of the stuff. So, and it's actually a command down here. So this has two commands, list and usage. So I can do PDF list, and you'll see it lists all my PDFs. Almost every one I've paid for. Okay, so so what does this command even do? So if I do PDF and I say, I think it starts with Linux, L-I tab, nope, L tab. Okay, there's all my learning stuff. Learning web design, okay, Learn tab, web design tab, enter. And it opens up my PDF and I can zoom through it and do my searching and read it and everything. Pretty cool, huh? It's a fun little script. If I don't get around to writing another independent script, you can just use that one because I think we're about to run out of time. So that's the power of tab completion. And I don't want to rob you of the experimentation on your own. So let's go back to this one. Let me show you the source of this. So VSC PDF, let's look at it. Okay. So again, but here's something else it takes. PDF list. Now you see how it listed all the things, right? I can do PDF usage. That color scheme needs to die. I did that so long ago. There is a really good example of when you should not use 256 colors and you should use the minimal system colors instead. And go back and watch the colors day. When we had a colors day, and I said it's usually better to use these simpler colors because they will jive with your color scheme no matter what it is. If you use the 256 colors, it will force it to be exactly that depending on no matter what your color scheme is. So that's why these are like left over from like Elf Lord or whatever. They're so ugly. Anyway, so I have this little usage thing. But see, watch. If I do PDF tab, I get all these possible things, right? Why? So let's deconstruct how the PDF function works. Not function, it's a command. So the first thing we test to see if we have a PDF directory. If we don't, we just exit. And then we got these functions. Usage, which just prints usage. You saw that. And find. Now, all find does is it starts in the PDF directory, which is set up in my bash RC for this system. And it goes in there, it starts there, and it says, show me every single path with the ensign.pdf and execute base name, which we now know we don't need to do anymore, right? Remember the old bash stuff? So I could probably update that. Excuse me. Actually, this isn't bash. This is POSIX. That's why. Okay. So here's the magic. Pay attention. This is where the magic happens. If you don't know how to shell script, go back, pause the video, go back and learn, and then come back here. Okay. It's not that hard, and we covered it. So this says, do I have a comp line environment variable? And if you'll recall, in our bash or C file, there is no sign of a comp line anywhere in there. And that's because the comp line environment variable is not set unless you hit tab. If you hit tab, what happens is it looks through the tab completion table that I just showed you, and it finds if it can complete anything. If it can't, it says, well, do you want me to print every possible thing? You say yes. But in this case, I'm going to put PDF, right, and hit tab. And because I hit tab, it's like, oh, I got PDF right here. I got it in my thing. You said you wanted me to run this program. So I'm going to run your program PDF, which happens to be the same one we're completing. See what I'm getting with that? I'm going to run the same program that is going to run to also use the completion. And so what this effectively does is it puts any code you write, whether it's a shell script or a Golang code running command box prompt, or anything, it takes whatever code you run and it runs it in two different modes. It runs it in completion mode, or it runs it in actual mode, like do the work, right? And the way you detect completion mode is you check it in bash. I haven't figured out this on Z Shell. If somebody figures out, please send me a note, because I wanted to put this into the command box for a while. So if you detect, you can do one thing. Do you have a comp line? If there's a comp line, then that says, oh, okay, you're not really running this program right now. You're running the program just to find out what it can do. And the way you do that is you give the one command, one possibility per line. You just print it out. That's it. In fact, you can test this entire thing by just setting it. So you can do comp_line equals, and it's kind of weird because you have to simulate what was typed, right? So you can do PDF space I, right? And then a semicolon, and then we'll actually type the PDF command. And that was weird. Oh, wait, I forgot. So if I enter the PDF command by itself, it actually goes into the directory, I think. So I know this is kind of weird, but I didn't do it. I probably have to export. Yeah, I did. I had to export it. So yeah. So watch this. I can test it by doing this. I can say K here, and now I said knowledge. I can say, let's see, what starts with Java, right? Refollowed Java. There it is there. So you see what I'm saying? So I'm going to try to restate this as simply as possible. Can't you just pipe it using grep? Pipe what? All the possibilities. So what I did actually with PDF is a little bit special. So let's make a simpler one. Maybe that'll help you. Maybe you don't want to just do this, but there's a couple things. The main simple thing I want to say is check for comp line, and if it's set, parse the comp line however you want, like we've talked about on delimited data. We had a whole day on that. And then find the last thing and complete it. So the comp line literally contains everything on the command line that was executed before tab was hit. And then you can do all the manipulation to the thing you want to. Now, that's all I want you to remember. I will say this. There are a ton of other environment variables and ways to help you with completion and functions and all this stuff. The rest of all the information in help, in help complete or in the man page is all about all of the other ways to help you through the hassle. And I actually prefer, and this might sound like heresy to some people, I prefer to take control of my own completion. And the reason that's so cool is this doesn't have to be just shell. You can do this with Go. You can do this with Python. You can do this with C. You can do this with Rust. So this means that you can actually complete anything using the language you love. You don't have to write another stupid shell script that's 520 lines long. That's like from Cobra. Why? Just to do the completion for your program and then store it in Etsy completion and manage it in a package install. No. In fact, the entire basis of command box, which used to be command tab, is that all the rules for the completion of that Go utility now travel with the binary. They don't have to be managed separately. All I have is one binary that I can download, and anybody can use it instantly. The only thing they have to add to their shell is complete -C foo foo, that kind of thing to complete it. And that's it. And that says, okay, this command takes care of its own completion. It doesn't depend on any of the other completion functions to be on it. It doesn't even really depend on a lot of the completion libraries to be installed. It does have to have bash completion enabled, but it doesn't have to depend on all the other stuff. And in the, like sort of sparse container world where you want less is more, this kind of thing is really valuable. And that's why I made command box. It just takes this thing and it just kind of just really plays on it and builds on it. It actually allows you to embed documentation and man pages and stuff in your command at the same time, along with completion. So it's all kind of there. And so let's actually do one. We have 8 minutes left. How's it going, Leo? How's it going, Billy? You can do the semicolon. Semicolon's fine. It's the same subshell, Billy. And that works in POSIX. The other way doesn't work in bash. So let's go back to, I think that's enough for you to do this, but if you, let me give you a piece of homework here. So your homework, since I only have 7 or 8 minutes left, your homework here is to write a command that completes itself. That's all. Write a command that completes itself. And so like what it will do is it will do its own completion. So like if you did, so like, foo, what's one that I have that I did this already? So zet, tab. Well, zet's not set right now. I don't think zet's set. Lol, there's no zet on there. Zet, tab. Nope. Complete -C, zet. I can't remember if I built completion into zet. We'll see. Unsupported. No, I don't have completion in here yet. Darn it. So you can do that. I have tons of examples of this. If you want to see a Perl example of this, let's see. I think my Twitch command has it in there. I don't know. We're gonna see. I can't remember. I know. Let's see. What was the Perl one that I did that has it? Was it open? Well, the PDF one has it. I have tons of them that have it in different forms in different languages. So it's all in my repo there if you want to go look. I'm trying to remember. There was one I did recently. I can't find it. No. Let me see something. Git grep Perl. Just give me one quick second. I'll find it. KN of course has it, but I haven't updated it in a while. Oh, Pomo has it. So Pomo tab. Pomo tab. That one uses command tab. So it gives you all the different options. That's a Go version. There is a Perl one though, and I'm trying to find it for you. I can't remember which one I called it. I was prototyping something. What was it? You guys remember? I was prototyping something in Perl and people were complaining it has X underscore in front. Actually, if I search for all my X underscores in here, I'll find it. Git grep X underscore. Oh, right. Oh, right, my workspace thing. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Duh. So my workspace manager. So yeah, that's it. So give WS. I mean, even if you don't use it, this is a Perl script. So I wanted to give you some other options. So this is this one is actually I'm kind of proud of this one. So this one automatically takes any subroutine that begins with X underscore and makes it complete without doing anything else. You just have to add it. So, and I wrote a whole bunch of documentation on this. This was a Perl prototype. It's going to be a Golang program later, but I wanted to give you some other language examples. So Here, let's see. See if I can find the completion section on here. Oh, there you go. Like, check that. This is all you need for completion right here. So if the environment has conf line, then set up your completions and then print them all out. And this is just going through all the completions. It's just going through. This is looking for all the namespace for the symbol table in Perl. That's probably not what you want to do for your first one, nor Go, but there are some in here that are also. I believe that the YouTube one has it. I think. Yep. Okay. So YT tab. Yeah. So that one has it. So there's another one. It doesn't work right now, but it'll give you an idea of how to do the completion. Okay. We only have 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna save this last 5 minutes to talk about CD path, and I expect you to have a lot of fun with completion. If you have questions about it, come let me know. And ultimately, though, what you'll end up in your bash.rc, and I'll show you mine, is you'll start to see this. All right. You'll start to see stuff like this stuff here. All right. Now, this is all on a single line. See how it says complete-c? You guys can decipher that code on your own, right? So these are all commands for which I have built completion. And I have a standard, I always make a build instead of a make file. I'm kind of against make files. I think they're unnecessary. Usually a shell script will do the same thing. It's just simpler to write. So I know how to do make files. I just don't like them, in case you're wondering. And then, so you just do this. So this says, turn on all the completion for all those things. I didn't have to bring anything else with me. However, so there's two other parts of this video I am going to go over a little bit. I apologize. So the other part of this video is, how do you use other people's completion? All right. Now, you will see people say this, completion with eval. And I'm going to tell you, I think that that's pretty damn dangerous. And I learned this relatively recently from the Kubernetes team. Why should eval be avoided in bash? And we've talked about the evils of eval. A lot of times when you see completion code, people will ask you to put an eval in here. So the another way to write this GH thing would have been, so like pandoc. Pandoc has built-in completion. That's pretty damn cool. So pandoc, you could do this. I love that pandoc has its own. So, all right, let me slow down. So these things here are commands that have their own completion built into them, but that they don't actually do the completion. Instead of doing the completion as you could have done with just -c, like I've done, or with use command tab or command box, instead of doing that, they make it a point to print out a bunch of shell, and I mean a lot of shell. Look at this one. This Kubernetes and Docker and all these are all using this thing called Cobra, which I detest because of this. And so if you do completion bash, I mean, the bash code is not even good. So this will print out, you guys see how many lines that is? Let's do it. Temp foo with 3 foos. All right, so this code gets spewed. Why they put a comment in here, I have no idea. I mean, okay, I have to calm down for a second. Okay, I'm about to talk about something that's one of my biggest pet peeves of the modern era, and not just mine. And Zelensky and a bunch of other people who have actually written extensive blogs about what is becoming one of the biggest abuses of our bash.rcs that we've ever known. Because why? Because completion. And by the way, at the core of the whole thing is the library for Go called Cobra that is my nemesis and I wish to take down. I'm joking, okay? I'm sure, I mean, obviously the people who made it were amazing people. But it's horrible. Anyway, what does it have you do? They would have you, in an earlier time, they would have you take all of those lines of code. Let's see how many there are. Okay. Can we just pause for 1 freaking second and look at this? All right. Take a breath, Rob. Take a breath, Rob. There's only 32 seconds left. I'm about to tell you why Cobra is the devil. It's the devil. It is the devil. It's the devil. This is for one completion library. One. Who is to blame for this? Not to mention all of the unword wrapped. I mean, it's actually not even good shellcode. It's actually crap shellcode. I've gone through it. It's completely insecure. There's like, I don't. What are we doing with that? Haha. Well, wait till I show you, and then you will share my anger. When you do this, in the early days, but when this stuff first came out, they wanted you to do this. They wanted you to do eval. They wanted you to do eval this. This is what they originally told you to do. And so and I mean, this is, I only have a few projects that use this in here, right? This method. And you can tell where that goes. And then some genius discovered that you can do this, which is a bash-ism that says the same thing. And so now instead of, so this is actually using source instead of eval. I think it's slightly more efficient to do this. This is pretty complicated. You're going to need to pause the video and look at this for a long time and know what happens. But let me tell you what it's doing. First of all, it finds out to see if I have a GH. And there's other ways of doing that. But this says, if I have a GH, then go to the pane of typing in, effectively, every one of the lines that comes out of this. All right? So let's count them up. So let's see how many lines are in this one. So, my bash RC is pretty small, right? My bash RC is pretty small. Guess how big it just got? So when you start to see your bash RC crawl to a halt, you blame Cobra and everybody else who uses this approach because you know better. They could have used complete-c and done all that work themselves in their own code when their code is run. Instead, they forced you, they didn't give you an option. They forced you to put it in your bash RC. Otherwise, you don't get completion. Sucks to be you. That is unethical to the nth degree. I'm trying really hard to stay rational about how I talk about this because it pisses me off. It pisses me off that some organization and project thought it was a good idea to stuff 14 fucking thousand lines in my bash RC without asking me, just so that I can get bash RC completion, and to tell me to eval all that and just trust them and that their shell scripting abilities are just as good as anybody on my production system. All right, I think that's my one F-bomb for my stream. But I tell you what, it's deserved. It's deserved. It's deserved. It got me so mad that I followed my mantra and said, don't get mad, get busy. And I created Command Box to fight it. And Command Box is not done yet. It was Command Tab for a year as an alpha project. And I'm now honing in on this particular one. But here it is if you want to go read it. It's get RWX-Rob/Command Box, a composite commander built like BusyBox with importables and completion and no dashes and all kinds of great stuff. If you want to be a part of that revolution, I could really use some help on that project. And there's many, many things I need. I need people to do the website. I need people to do the docs and everything. All right, so I'm just I'm going to do the GH one. Just do the GH one for fun, okay? Shall we? So we're gonna. This is the one from GitHub. Let's see how they did. Let's see how they turned out. Oh, I'm not doing it right. Learn to use your computer, Rob. Oh, guess what? You what? Like. All right, so who wants to bet me that it's exactly the same number, almost exactly the same number as the other one? Oh, no. So the GH one, thankfully, is only 3,368. But it's the same crappy shellcode. You know why? Cobra. Cobra is the fault to blame in here. And so I'm going to show you. I got to show you this. Kubernetes one is just phenomenal. I just cannot believe it. I feel like I did something wrong. I honestly, I don't believe how big that is. A 14,000 line file. How can you possibly think it's okay to create a 14,000 line file for my kube control options? I mean seriously, what how do you come off thinking that? Look, there it is. I just attested it. 14,000 lines just to get your shitty bash completion. All right. So let's go. That's not just okay. So that's two of them, right? And Zelensky, who wrote a beautiful blog on this, I wish I had it available. He just was screaming about this because he's got several of these, and you start adding them up. Let's add up how many lines. So let's see, 14,000 plus 4,000. So what? We're at like 20,000 lines. Yeah, let's do this one. Let's do pandoc bash completion. Okay. So let's see what that one's about. Should we do this? I mean, this is fun. I mean, I'm way past my time. Just forget it. The world needs to know. The world needs to know about this stuff so we can do something about it, because this is just like sick and wrong. I mean, it's literally sick and wrong to do this. This is homegrown completion in Haskell from these guys. Great project. Pandoc, I really love it. So let's see what they do. Let's see how they come in, shall we? So temp pandoc complete. 83 total lines. Oh, Pandoc, thank you so much for that. I love you, Pandoc. What a great project. All right, so let's go. Let's do some more here. Let's look here. So there's my cube control. Wait, oh, should we try Docker? Docker has one. I just don't have it up here right now. I think Docker's is. I think you have to install the file. Yeah, I think you do. It doesn't have completion. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. Docker has a separate completion file that has to be installed, and you have to install as part of the package. That's traditional, and that's how people normally do it. And by the way, that's fine, right? Because why? Because then it's someplace else. That's better than forcing me to stick a 14,000 line file in my bash RC and have it run every time. Now, I'm gonna roll this back just a tad. The response to this, and I've read a blog or two about this, is you don't have to do this. I mean, that's how they tell you to do it on their main homepage. That's what they tell you to do. But if you do enough searching, they will tell you that you can do that. You can generate the file, and you can put the file in your bash completion, which is under Etsy or whatever. But then you kind of have to know about how bash completion works and stuff. And you're basically at that point, you're doing things the package manager should have done when you installed it. Yeah. So if you're going to do that, the one way to solve this is to go through the extreme hassle of, because if they come out with as soon as they come out with a new version, you have to do the work yourself of taking it out and putting it in the other place. At least the Docker install script does all of that for you. And maybe there's something in Kube Control that I've not found so far. But I got to tell you, for being like the world's leading, most used project on planet Earth by cloud native professionals, all the DevOps people, all the Kubernetes people have to use it, and forcing all those people to put 14,000 lines in their bash RC essentially is just wrong. And they'll say, well, people who know better won't do that. I'm like, fine. But I'm working with beginners here, and I'm just trying to tell you to watch out for the perils of this stuff. There is a way to get around it. It believe it or not, on modern systems, it's not that slow, but it's annoying. This little line right here is something that I stole. So if you do complete here and you do grep, right? So if you want to make a shortcut, kubectl, right? So if you want to make a shortcut, then what you can do is you can copy that exact line and then change this one here to be your shortcut. And that's what I did here. And that's how come I get cube-kk-. Whoops, mine's not working right now, but for what reason, I do not know. I think it's probably because did I exit bash already? Sometimes it screws it up. I don't know. There's something going on with the way that source that doesn't work properly after the second resourcing. I don't know. So, but that is the way to do it. Kind has the same thing. So kind and YQ. Let's go see kind. If you're doing local stuff, I just want to see this completion bash. I'm sorry, guys. I know you're just chomping at the bit to see how much this one has. I bet you it's pretty high though. No, it's not, because it's a tiny little thing. 24. Oh wait. I did it wrong. Oh, wait. Did I get the Pandoc one wrong, too? Did I do the Pandoc one wrong? Did anybody not catch me? I spelled it wrong, right? Yeah. Now, this is legit, man. That's a legit completion. So, that's Pandoc. I'm impressed. So, is it complete or completion? Thank you. Completion, temp kind, complete. 1,159 lines. Why do you need that much? I have no idea. YQ shell completion. Let's try one more. A lot of these use the same library, and some of them just have more options. Shell dash completion bash. I have a feeling it's going to be big because maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Completion bash. YQ's got some problems. I actually been finding several problems with YQ. I want to love it, but it's got problems. 624. That's not too bad. You talk about separating bash into multiple files. So let's talk about that, since that is related to sourcing. Okay. Those who know me know I was doing that until 2 weeks ago. So up until 2 weeks ago, I had taken my shell script and because I have a pretty large one, and I had broken it out into sections, and at one point I even did it so that I had some ending in .bash and .sh, and I actually wrote a Z shell RC and a bash RC, and the Z shell RC sourced all of the Z shell compatible stuff, and the bash RC would source all the bash compatible stuff, and then there was this middle ground where stuff would work with both of them, aliases and things. And I actually completed that and got it all working, and it really slowed my login down, because it had to source every one of these 17 to 20 or so scripts that I had, individual files that I had separately broken out. Now, the original intent, by the way, was that I would do that to get it all working, and then I would paste it all back together through a script or something, and then I would have a single file version of the same thing. Which you can do, you can do that as well. And so, at one point I had, before that, I actually had a build script for my bash RC. So I'd have everything all managed separately in my GitHub, right? And then I would run a build script, and it would have to do that. And I hated that. Let me tell you why. I hated that because I couldn't just go edit the file. I couldn't just go tweak the file and commit it. I had to tweak the file, build it, run a new shell, or, load it and everything. The reason I thought that was a good idea was because I wanted to isolate those lines and debug certain sections of a rather large bash RC, and I didn't want the whole thing to fail just because of one line error, right? So I still think that there's a valid approach to doing that if you want to do that, and Z Shell, of course, has plugins for this kind of stuff. But I want to tell you something. I have gone completely back to a single file for one reason. I want that file to be portable. I can take my bash RC file anywhere, and that includes, and I know this sounds crazy, but that one or two random times where I don't want to set up a persistent mount in Kubernetes, and I want to exec into a system, and I want to be able, or I don't want to mount a scratch drive on NFS or GPFS or whatever, and I just want to exec into the pod, and I want my shell, and I just want to. Now I know that that's not best practice, but those few times that I actually want to get on another system and I want my bash RC with me, I can now copy it with one command. And if you're a Kubernetes person, it's KCP, whatever, vimrc, bash RC to the destination, and boom, you get it. You get that? So I can now copy two files, my vimrc and my bash RC, to any node in the cluster, or to any pod in the cluster that I'm working on at any time. And even though it's ephemeral, it's going to go away and stuff, right? Which is yet another reason to not make it such a big deal. And so then I just SCP, I just K space CP the file over, I SCP the over, and I get maximum portability. Not everyone is going to have that requirement. By the way, that is also the primary argument for learning VI, because I'm on that system. So I have a Docker file right now. I'm working on Jupyter Hub portal, and so I've been working on a Jupyter Hub portal right now, and I need to get on that system sometimes, and sometimes it's too much of a hassle. It's actually not that hard to just remake an image every once in a while. So I'll put in my Docker file. I'll put Vim in there, and it's a line. I literally will put a note that says delete this line before production, and that will put Vim on the system, and it will put it doesn't have tmux on it because I use tmux from the host, my base host, and then so yes, I could mount a volume and all that stuff. It's a little bit more complicated to do that in Kubernetes than it is Docker. And if you're working in Kubernetes, having VI just on there to just tweak a few things and then copy and paste those changes into your main Docker file or your main configuration file that you're storing in your own GitHub repo locally, and then you just rebuild the image. The iteration of work is not too big a deal to do. And so for that reason, having a single portable VimRC, and that will work without plugins, by the way. This is another reason never to touch NeoVim. Unless you want to have a different version of NeoVim that works on a remote system. The reason you learn VI is because of this. You want portability. VI is the best text editor. It's not an IDE. If you want to turn VI into an IDE, fine. Then use it as an IDE on one system and just be happy, and use your Lua plugins and your alpha software and use your whatever, maybe try Emacs, maybe VS Code. It's a completely different working situation. I can't install VS Code on this remote system. I just want to edit a file really quick, and there's no VI. So I've spoken a lot about this, but this is relevant to the question of sourcing the file. And so how do you source a file? Let me make sure I cover that. So to source a file in POSIX, it's dot. It's this lone dot, which is really easy to miss. If you want to be more precise, you can put the word source in here because it's bash. Source is only supported in KShell and bash and company. It's not supported in POSIX. But this is a bash RC file, so using bash is fine if you want to learn the extra syntax for bash. And we talked about that during the shell scripting days. Okay, so this says go ahead and source all that stuff. And as we counted, there's at least I would say 20, 30, 25, 30 lines of code that are executed in my bash RC because of this, right? Now, these things over here, how many of them are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So even say I did it really good. Let's say I had maybe 1,000 lines for each one. Maybe it might be 500. I don't. They're all of that completion is built into the command. It's built into the command. And I'm telling you, you can build your own completion into a command. Now, it does get a little tricky if you want it to fail over to completing all the files in the file system. But there are functions that you can call when that's the case, and you can still write your own to do all of that. So the only other thing, I think I'm going to push it out today. I'm not going to go ahead. This has been a good conversation. We're going to push CD path out. And we'll talk about CD path more tomorrow. When we talk about path, and where to get my bash RC it's in the show notes. It's in my boost stuff there. Yeah, here it's in get a artifactrob / dot artifactrob / dot on GitHub if you want to go through mine. And believe me, I learned all of this by looking at other people's bash RCs. No shame at all looking through mine or anybody else's stuff here. Exchange notes in the Discord and IRC. Put your stuff out there. It's kind of a rite of passage for you to study somebody else's bash RC files or dot files in general, and then create your own and constantly be adding to them. For the first 20 years, no kidding, for the first 20 years, there were lines in my bash RC that I had no idea what they did, particularly in the shell options area. And honestly, it was only until about the last 5 to 10 years that I really spent the time to understand every single thing in there. And you can make the case that you shouldn't be putting anything in your bash RC that you don't understand. And that's tough for a beginner. I get it, but so you make that call and have fun with it and do your exploration. Okay, so we're going to say tab completion and sourcing will be the topic for today. By the way, sourcing is what we're doing in our bash RC file, but we did not cover that during the shell scripting time, I don't think. You can go back if you want, watch the shell scripting days in the beginning of the boost. We had to, as I said before, I'm super happy about, we had to learn to shell script before we could do our bash RC, so we spent a week on that. I don't remember how thoroughly I covered sourcing back then, but this is another way to basically import other files. It's not importing. If you've done Python or any other language, that's not what it is. It when you source it, it's as if it typed it at that spot. And everything is very sequential. As I said over and over again, shell is just basically sending command after command, line after line, one at a time to the interpreter as it comes in. It's not doing any pre-compilation or any of that stuff. I think bash has maybe done more with compiling the whole thing, but for the most part, it's executing things one line at a time. And that includes sourcing something, so it sources all those one line at a time. That sounds about right for me to end here. Does anybody else have any last minute questions before we go? Yesterday I convinced my friend to switch from Windows to Linux, Zeddy says. That's phenomenal. I mean, you can do Windows and Linux. I do it every day, with WSL2. What else we got? Dutchie, thanks for that link to my RC files. I've converted you to VI and Bash. I used to use NeoVim and all my Z shell. I love you. I love you. Please don't take any offense at my attacking your horrible technology choices. I'm joking. They're uninformed. I'm not trying to be mean. You can use whatever you want, honestly. And the people that make this stuff are good people. Please, I have to say that because people get offended. Let's see. It's nice to hear the experience of someone else who tried these things. I was thinking about it and explained to me why I shouldn't. Yeah, a lot of people will tell you stuff. Man, their YouTube is full of opinions and very few. Actually, no, it's full of conclusions without how they led up to the conclusion. Usually because of time. It's shorter to just tell you something sucks or something's great, and then nobody wants to hear the lead up to that, to hear the explanation. So I appreciate that comment. Yep. Anyway, yeah, you talked about the separating and bash separate files. It uses CompGen. I think it probably does use CompGen, Zebrow. I think it probably does. Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you mentioned that. So Zebrow mentions a tool called CompGen, and I'm going to put that in here. Consider CompGen to create completion shell. I'll put that in there just for your consideration. There are tools out there to help you generate completion code based on stuff. I believe actually I don't know. Please, I have no knowledge on this topic. I believe that Z Shell does a lot of that automatically. So I know that Fish does a lot of inspection of your options and everything using getup syntax, which I'm about to blow out of the water because command box has no dashes. They're forbidden. So because you can't speak them into my phone. How can I speak command line arguments into my phone? You're like, why would you use your terminal from your phone? Slack has everybody thinking, it's everybody using the command line. I don't even know it. All those Slack bots are just command line interfaces to software. The future is conversational for a lot of people, and that means interfaces, including command line interfaces that are speakable. And that's another fundamental goal of the command box project. So what else we got? I think that's it. Again, thank you so much. Let's see. Try the code in the top if you don't know. Oh, right. I'm going to go, just a note, give me a follow on GitHub/RWXRob, sub and all that jazz. If you feel inclined, sponsorships and subs and all that stuff sure help me. Keeps me motivated, if nothing more. I'm not the kind of guy to really bring this up, and I've set myself a goal. I'm at least going to mention it during every video at the end, just so people, I know a lot of good, well-meaning people just forget. So if there's anything you want to do to support me, even if it's just retweeting it, I don't care. Just, take a moment and spread the love. Hopefully that will help other people avoid the perils of this. And maybe we can come together and, end the reign of the 14,000 bash completion file. only through open source, right? Scratch your own itch, fix your own problems. Don't get mad, get busy. I have to tell myself that every day. Bye.